with that, including learning different languages and different dialects. So how many languages do you speak?
I speak 6 currently.
Name them?
So I speak English, obviously, Afrikaans, which is a derivative of Dutch that we have in South Africa, and then I speak African languages. So I speak Zulu, I speak Xhosa, I speak Tswana, and I speak Tsonga. And so those are my languages, the core. And then I don't claim German, but I can have a conversation in it. So I'm trying to make that officially my 7th languages, and then hopefully I can learn Spanish.
And it sounds like this is something you picked up from your mother, who also spoke several languages and used them in a very kind of cunning way when she needed to make sure that she wasn't, imprisoned, or although she was imprisoned.
but she got out of many situations,
Yeah. And so there's a passage from your book that I'd like you to read that's about how your mother used language and how you use language to help navigate difficult situations.
Living with my mom, I saw how she used language to cross boundaries, handle situations, navigate the world. We were in a shop once, and the shopkeeper right in front of us turned to his security guard and he said in Afrikaans, "Volg die swartes, net nou steel hulle iets. Follow those blacks in case they steal something." My mother turned around and said in beautiful, fluent Afrikaans, "Hoekom volg jy nie die swartes sodat jy hulle kan help? Kry waarna hulle soek nie. Why don't you follow these blacks so you can help them find what they're looking for?" "Ach, jammer," the man said, apologizing in Afrikaans. Then, and this was the funny thing, he didn't apologize for being racist. He merely apologized for aiming his racism at us. "Oh, I'm so sorry," he said. "I thought you were like the other blacks. You know how they love to steal." I learned to use language like my mother did. I would simulcast, give you the program in your own tongue. I'd get suspicious looks from people just walking down the street. "Where are you from?" they'd ask. I'd reply in whatever language they'd addressed me in, using the same accent that they used. There would be a brief moment of confusion, and then the suspicious look would disappear. "Oh, okay. I thought you were a stranger. We're good then." It became a tool that served me my whole life. One day, as a young man, I was walking down the street, and a group of Zulu guys was walking behind me, closing in on me, and I could hear them talking to one another about how they were going to mug me. "Asibambele authi inkunzi bafethu. Manje siyamthatha vele siyamthatha. Let's get this white guy. You go to his left and I'll come up behind him." I didn't know what to do. I couldn't run, so I just spun around real quick and said, "Kodwa bafethu. Yingani singaveli sibambe umuntu inkunzi emergency. Sihamba sonke. Yo guys, why don't we just mug someone together? I'm ready. Let's do it." They looked shocked for a moment, and then they started laughing. "Oh, sorry, dude. We thought you were something else. We weren't trying to take anything from you. We were trying to steal from white people. Have a good day, man." They were ready to do to me violent harm until they felt that we were part of the same tribe. And then we were cool. That and so many other smaller incidents in my life made me realize that language, even more than color, defines who you are to people. I became a chameleon. My color didn't change, but I could change your perception of my color. If you spoke to me in Zulu, I replied to you in Zulu. If you spoke to me in Tswana, I replied to you in Tswana. Maybe I didn't look like you, but if I spoke like you, I was you.
That's Trevor Noah reading from his new memoir, Born a Crime. I like that passage so much, in part because when I hear you on The Daily Show and in some of your stand-up comedy that I've heard on recording, you do accents and voices so well. Like you can mimic other people really well. And it seems like that's something you learned to do out of self-preservation when you were young.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was something I inherited from my mother, who learned to do it. You know, I, like a baby duckling, was merely mimicking the survival traits that my mother possessed. And I came to learn very quickly that language was a powerful, powerful tool. Language and accents govern so much of how people think about other people, you know, and it's been happening since the beginning of time. I mean, even now in America, you know, when people say they hate immigrants, they're not referring to a Canadian immigrant, you know, they're not referring to somebody who has an accent who's slightly different to theirs. it's often that voice that throws you off, because I sometimes think it's you know what it is? It's when you hear somebody speaking in an accent, it's almost like they're invading your language while they're speaking to you. Because if you hear someone speak another language, you almost don't care. But when they speak your language with an accent, it feels like an invasion of something that belongs to you. And
You know what it is,
immediately
too, I think?
we change.
Yeah, I think people think that people with accents that are a little hard to understand must be stupid.
Yes.
Because you don't understand what they're saying.
Yes.
And therefore, they're not smart.
Yeah, that's I've seen that everywhere. I've seen that everywhere. People make jokes about that. And that was funny when I first came to the US, because I do accents and I've traveled the world.
Yeah.
And I have friends of almost every single ethnicity, and I would mimic them. And when I came to the US, I remember one day we were at the Daily Show, and I mimicked my Chinese friend. And the guys at the show were like, "Oh, hey, don't ever do that again. And that's really racist. You shouldn't do that." And I said, "What do you mean it's racist?" And I said, "Oh, you can't do a Chinese accent." And I said, "I'm not doing a Chinese accent. I'm doing my friend's accent." And they said, "Yeah, you can't do that." And I said, "Okay, but can I do a Russian accent?" And they said, "Yeah, of course you can do that." I said, "And a British accent?" They said, "Yeah, go ahead." And I couldn't understand. And then I came to realize, obviously, because of the historical, significance of that accent, and how, people who had Chinese accents or continue to have Chinese accents in America are treated as being stupid, or not as intelligent as an English speaker who is fluent with an American accent. I came to realize why. But it's always fascinated me how quickly you can change where you stand with another human being just based on how you speak.
One other thing about language, I found this amazing in your book, that you watched American TV shows, but they were broadcast in different languages. But if you wanted to hear it in the original American English, you could simulcast it on the radio.
Yeah.
So you sometimes did that. But what was your reaction when you heard the programs in their actual original voices?
Oh, sometimes it was mind blowing. There are some characters that I knew of, like I remember for most of my life I grew up, and Knight Rider was, David Hasselhoff was a Dutch character in my world. I guess in some ways he still is today, but yeah, it was weird for me because there were certain characters who I had ideas of. Again, I came to realize the power and the importance of language. And it's more than just language in the way we perceive it. If you look at this election, I feel like Donald Trump was speaking a different language to Hillary Clinton. It's not dissimilar to what we saw in South Africa with our president, Jacob Zuma. I remember sitting with people laughing when they would watch the debates, and they'd go, "This guy's a buffoon. Oh man, he has such a low word count. He's got the grammar of a 5-year-old. He has the vocabulary of a toddler." And I said, "Yeah, but do you know how many people find that appealing right now? He's up there, and everybody understands what he's saying." And they were like, "Oh, can you imagine this guy's a president?" And I said, "Yeah, but think of how many people who for the first time are listening to a presidential candidate, understanding every single quote, unquote, policy that he puts forward." And sometimes that's a thing that I will call them, like